Kazumi Totaka is a very well-known video game composer that has worked on many well-known titles, but has he put a secret song in every game that he's worked on? So hey, I'm the Game from Mars, and this is the Totaka Song Theory. Totaka's song is a 19-note tune that seems to be secretly placed in all the games he has worked on. Even though Totaka has worked on dozens of games, his secret song has only been discovered in 16 of them. The main reason the song is so hard to locate is due to the fact that it's hidden so well. I'll now go over some examples of how the song is hidden. Totaka's song was first discovered in Mario Paint, which was released in 1992. Known as the Mario Paint song at the time, all you needed to do to trigger it was click the O on the title screen. For years, Mario Paint was thought to be the first game with Totaka's song, until it was discovered on the Game Boy game X, which was released months before it. X was a 3D first-person shooter that was never released outside of Japan. To trigger, you go to the fake scientist screen on Mission 4 and wait 40 seconds. The funny thing is that almost 20 years later, the sequel Xscape was released on DSiWare with the song in the same exact place as the original. In Super Mario Land 2, you must wait 2 minutes and 30 seconds on the game over screen to trigger the song. The method of waiting on a certain screen for a period of time is the most popular way of the song being activated. Other games using this method include Link's Awakening, Yoshi's Story, Pikmin 2, and Luigi's Mansion. In all three Animal Crossing games, you can find Totaka's song by approaching the dog KK Slider and requesting him to play the KK song. The interesting thing is that the character KK Slider is inspired by Totaka, which explains why he plays it in the game. It's also worth mentioning that the song can be found in the Animal Crossing e-reader game Who Done It. It seems that in the excitement of trying to be the first to discover where the song is hidden in every game, some start hearing it when it's simply not there. What I'm referring to is the rumor that in Wii Sports Tennis you can hear the song by listening to the sound of the tennis racket hitting the ball. I think it's very clear that the power of suggestion leads people to the conclusion that the song is there even though it isn't. So it still remains a mystery where the song is in Wii Sports. Well, there's really
It's the middle of the night when it hits you. I guess that's the thing with ideas, they...
Playing Mario is definitely fun, and all the different enemies you encounter are really interesting. The Koopas are cute, the Thwomps are intimidating, the Boos are scary, and the Shy Guys are... well, the Shy Guys are very mysterious. We really don't know much about them. Heck, we don't even know what they're hiding under those masks. Why are they all so ominous? Sure, you can argue and say that they're just shy, like their name implies. But what if there's a little bit more than that? What if the Shy Guys are keeping a secret from us? And what if that secret is a dark one? One that we would have wished stayed hidden from us. You ready? Let's begin. Now, just by simply looking at a Shy Guy, what do they kind of remind you of? Honestly, think about it. The Shy Guy's aesthetic design has a very uncanny resemblance to that of an assassin. You see it, don't you? With their long hooded robes, white masks to hide their identities, and a mysterious demeanor. It sounds kinda dumb, I know, but just hear me out. The Shy Guys are a little more special than your everyday run-of-the-mill assassin, however, mainly because of their main purpose. You first encounter the Shy Guys roaming around in Super Mario Bros. 2, which, after completing the game, turns out was all just a dream. And in The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening on the Game Boy, Link is exploring a dungeon in his dream and encounters a creature he describes as a mysterious cloaked figure with a mask. Link's description, as well as the in-game sprite, kind of looks familiar. Could that really be a Shy Guy? So what does this mean exactly? Well, it's very possible that the Shy Guy's main purpose is to infiltrate dreams and attack the victims when they're most vulnerable, while they're asleep. That's pretty scary. But how does that explain the Shy Guy's presence in the real world, when everyone's awake? Well, in Luigi's Mansion, when you encounter a Shy Guy, they're actually in a ghost-like state at nighttime, when most people are asleep. But their masks are still tangible, so it's pretty safe to assume they have some kind of, let's just call it Danny Phantom complex, because that show is awesome, where they can exist, not exist, and enter bodies at will. It's not that crazy of an idea, especially since this is a game series where magic plays a very prominent role. So in that sense, the Shy Guys are very assassin-like. However, they very obviously lack the stealth, deadliness, and actual effectiveness an assassin would have. Why is that? Well, here's where another factor comes into play: Kamek and the Magic Koopas. Kamek is Bowser's second in command, and whenever an evil plan fails, Bowser tends to take it out on him, both physically and emotionally. And taking into account the well-known fact that Magic Koopas go through rigorous and dangerous genetic mutation procedures to develop their magical abilities, like making enemies grow 15 times their size, creating creatures out of inanimate objects, and even mutating them, it's safe to assume not all the experiments are a success, and that there are some rejects along the way. Magical experiments gone horribly wrong. Could that also partially be why they have to wear the mask? To cover up whatever mistakes were made? That's why the Shy Guys waddle around and seem so cute and innocent, even though that wasn't the Magic Koopa's intentions. But since Kamek needs to please Bowser to avoid further abuse, he mass produces these things and keeps these brain-dead, genetically horrifying creatures to serve as Bowser's minions. In Mario Power Tennis, when the Shy Guy wins a trophy, he comes up to the stage and his mask falls off. We don't get to see anything, but Luigi does, and he seems pretty horrified from what he just saw, which was most likely a monster. The Shy Guys are failed assassins, but Kamek forces them to keep their masks and robes on, to hide the scary secrets that lie beneath. In that sense, Kamek is kind of like Dr. Frankenstein, and the Shy Guys are his creations. Dr. Frankenstein had this ingenious idea of creating something great, but it all went horribly wrong, and what was born instead was an abomination to the world. The Shy Guys are very much a victim of circumstance. They didn't ask to be created, especially not in this way. They didn't ask to be used as killing machines and as someone's puppet. And they especially did not ask to be horrified and feared by the world around them. But isn't it obvious? The Shy Guys are more afraid of you than you are of them. The world has constantly neglected them for so long that they just want to be left alone, always feeling like the world would be better off if they didn't exist. That's why they're shy, because they want to have a normal life and be like everyone else. Go go-kart racing, play sports, all of those things. They're an experiment gone wrong. For lack of a better term, They're monsters. But should everyone treat them like they are? If so, then who are the real monsters here? Who knows? I mean, hey, out of all of the mysteries surrounding the Shy Guys, that just might be the biggest one. It's up to you on whether or not you choose to believe me. I'm just one guy, trying to spread a message. Go ahead and think of some popular video game couples. Who maybe come to mind? Mario and Peach, Sonic and Amy, Link and Zelda. One of the more obscure and even controversial romances would be the cute dinosaur pairing of Yoshi and Birdo. And what if I told you that these two lovebirds, or love dinosaur things, actually had a child? It isn't a baby Yoshi or a baby Birdo. It's actually someone we are already acquainted with. The hero of Planet Popstar, Kirby. Now, taking that information at face value sounds a little weird or even stupid, but let's honestly try to find out if Yoshi, Birdo, and Kirby are one big happy family. The first thing we need to get out of the way is figuring out Birdo's gender. Birdo made his or her first appearance in Super Mario 2. The instruction manual is quoted with saying, he thinks he is a girl and he spits eggs from his mouth. He'd rather be called Birdetta. So according to this, Birdo is a guy. But then again, that game was all just a dream and doesn't really count. Nintendo would eventually establish Birdo as being a female, with the trophy in Super Smash Bros. Melee clearly indicating this, and pairing her with Yoshi in Mario Tennis and multiple miscellaneous games with a romantic undertone. Nintendo would still poke fun at Birdo's gender confusion in games like Captain Rainbow, a game that's so Japanese that I just can't even. Going back to this cute little guy, a ton of Kirby's powers actually originate from both Yoshi and Birdo. Let's first take a look at Yoshi's side of the family. For one, Yoshi has a never-ending appetite. He can continuously stuff his face with no real consequences. Remind you of anyone? That's right, our little friend Kirby. But wait, there's more. Think back to Super Mario World. Whenever you got a Yoshi, he could only run and jump. There wasn't anything too special about him, aside from the fact that he was cute and fun. But as we would come to find out, our little dinosaur friend would have the ability to gain abilities. Eating certain colored shells would give Yoshi certain power-ups. Red would shoot fire, blue would grant the ability of flight, yellow would cause mini earthquakes when Yoshi would touch down, and green does nothing. The power to eat things and in turn give you special abilities? Sounds familiar again, doesn't it? Yup. This unique ability would then be transferred over to Kirby in a more evolved fashion. Kirby would consume certain creatures to gain certain abilities. Now, I know Yoshi didn't technically eat the shells. If he actually consumed it, he would lose the ability entirely, but it's the concept that counts. Off the top of my head, these are the only two characters in the entire Nintendo universe that can gain special abilities just by putting random things into their mouths. Giggity. And what about the Smash Bros. Series? That universe solely exists on the concept of fighting your friends. So naturally, Yoshi would want his son to be fully prepared for the battles to come. Yoshi would then teach Kirby some fighting techniques to properly defend himself, which, have you noticed? Kirby and Yoshi share a fair amount of moves. Some methods for fighting for Yoshi include eating the enemy, doing a ground pound, and temporarily flying in the air. And with Kirby, he can eat the enemy, do a ground pound, and temporarily fly in the air. Hell, the moves are mapped to the same button combination for both characters. The B button eats, down B does the ground pound, and pressing the jump button allows temporary flight. Good job, Yoshi. You taught him well. As for Birdo's side of the family, Kirby didn't inherit that much. For one, he's pink, and Birdo's pink. Hooray. But also, Birdo's main method of attacking is shooting projectiles out of her mouth at an alarmingly dangerous rate. It's enough to kill anyone in its path. And what's Kirby's other method of attack if he doesn't have the copy ability? Yup, shooting projectiles super fast. Thanks, Birdo. And here's another cute piece of evidence. In Kirby Superstar, there's a game titled Spring Breeze. The final level has you fighting off against King Dedede in some kind of boxing ring. If you veer off to the far left or right, you'll notice some familiar faces, one of which includes Birdo? Why would Birdo, of all the Mario characters they could have chosen to be here, why her? Same with Kirby's Megaton Punch minigame. There's Birdo just watching again. But this makes sense. Both of these stages are arena-type levels, one that would require an audience to be present. So it's kind of like a sporting event. When you were a kid and you had to go to your football game, karate tournament, or whatever activity it was that you didn't want to do, it was usually your mother that was there in the crowds cheering you on because she's probably the reason you're doing this stupid activity in the first place. Now, Birdo doesn't look too excited to be there, but, you know, children's sports can only be so exciting. And there we have it. Yoshi, Birdo, and Kirby are one big happy family. Now it's up to you to take this information and science that I've given you and believe whatever you want. If you think that this weird family is possible, that's awesome. If you think that this is a bunch of malarkey and that I'm stupid, which is probably the truth to be honest, you can think that, as long as I made you sit there and think, maybe.
When
Everyone
Come
together,
That's
when
ideas
become
reality,
all
bringing
different
things
to the table. This
guys,
creative. This
one's
problem
solver,
in
different
places.
put on
The
same
page, all
working
as one. You see,
together.
we
Can I?
achieve
great.
things.
There's a lot of words you could use to describe the enemies in the Mario universe. They're creative, they're pretty cute sometimes, and most of them are not the brightest group of characters. Or so it may seem. Let's take the Goombas for example. I mean, when your best strategy of attack is just simply walking into someone, that definitely says a lot. But does this mean we should just completely discredit the Goombas and give them the label of dumb? No, of course not, because the Goombas are actually one of the most complex and fascinating creatures in all of the Mario universe. First off, the Goomba family tree is massive. Have you ever noticed the amount of different Goombas you've encountered on your adventures? Everything from the Goombas, the Galoombas, the Goombos, Goombrats. There's a lot of variety just in the races alone. So odds are, they're not all going to be the same. A great example being that not all Goombas are bad guys. In the game Paper Mario, you can visit a place called Goomba Village. Here, some Goombas choose to live peacefully within the Mushroom Kingdom. The inhabitants live normal, happy lives, running shops, giving advice, helping out Mario, and just all around being good citizens. Speaking of the Paper Mario series, these games introduced us to so many new characters with fun personalities. A lot of these characters being allies, Koopas, Boos, and yes, Goombas. Here we have Goombella. She's a student at the University of Goom, studying archaeology. She provides information to Mario about his location or the characters who stand right in front of him. Goombella is very smart and sassy. She will provide Mario with the information he needs, but with her own little spicy twist. And who could forget about the cute and lovable Goombario? He's a young Goomba living in Goomba Village. He absolutely idolizes Mario and Luigi, wishing to adventure with them one day. And just as destiny would have it, he gets to do, well, just that. He has dreams of becoming a great hero one day. To quote Goombario himself, "Mario, I know all about your adventures around the world. You've been everywhere, and you always get the best of the bad guys every time. You're the coolest. I want to be just like you." Now, if we were to talk about every complex Goomba character in the Paper Mario series, we'd be here for a while. But these two are prime examples that not all Goombas have the same motives. They're all different, and they have their own unique dreams and personalities. However, the Paper Mario series Goombas are just a small minority of the Goomba population as a whole. The majority of them do choose to side with Bowser as his loyal minions. But that doesn't have to be a negative thing. They choose to fight with Bowser. Why? We may never fully know why. That's just who they are. It's a decision they've made for themselves. It's like real life. And I mean, come on, Bowser has a giant amusement park and dresses up like a cat. How evil can he really be to people who selflessly follow him? I mean, he can still be kind of a jerk. In Bowser's Inside Story, he uses the Goombas as projectiles, lighting them on fire and throwing them at the enemies. But the Goombas seem to be okay with it. It's not the most comfortable life, but it's what they've chosen. We've learned that there are a ton of Goomba species. They're all Yoshi is one of the most adorably popular characters to ever come into existence. He made his grand debut in Super Mario World, and ever since then, if a game was released that had the word Mario in the title, Yoshi was guaranteed to show up one way or another. But why? Why did we all fall in love with this character? He was basically just someone to ride and eventually ditch to get some extra air because that's more important. Anyway, let's try and figure it out. Let's go back to 1991. You're playing Super Mario World and all of a sudden, BAM! Out comes this mysterious green dinosaur named Yoshi. He thanks us for rescuing him from an egg that Bowser apparently trapped him in. Now these few sentences are more than enough for us to get fully invested in Yoshi. He shows gratitude, signs of heroism, and even shares the same common enemy. Yoshi's gameplay is a very fun and dynamic addition to the Mario universe. He's able to continuously eat things with that famous tongue. Depending on what was eaten, Yoshi would be granted some sweet new abilities. But the initial charm of Yoshi isn't from what he could actually do, but for what he offered. Companionship. This entire world is littered with creatures that have targeted you as the enemy. Every stage has either Goombas, Koopas, and football players that are working together to take you out, coupled with the fact that you're not even in the Mushroom Kingdom anymore, and that feeling of loneliness slowly begins to creep